This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
The final score from the racecourse: Wrexham 1, Solihull Moors 0, and Wrexham go top of the league for the first time since March 2013, when they relinquished the top spot after a goalless draw against Luton Town. I wonder where they are now. This was a heck of a game in many respects, and a funny game in every respect. Wrexham, for the first 65 or so minutes, putting on perhaps the most dominant performance of the season. Terrific stuff as Wrexham were on the front foot, constantly putting Solihull under pressure. And it's really how they only scored one goal. Well, maybe that sums up Wrexham's issue at the moment, doesn't it? That they just haven't got that cutting edge, and so when they dominate a game like that and are superior to that extent and start carving out chances, they only get the one goal. And so as a result, the last 25 minutes went admirably. Solihull Moors, who played with terrific spirit and certainly didn't play like a side who were second bottom of the table, came back at us. We had to defend gutsily, and we rode our luck on occasions before closing her out for that 1-0 win. A game of two halves. One of the halves lasted 65 minutes. But hey, so Wrexham unchanged in the side that won on Saturday, and they started very, very strongly indeed. In the same manner, really. Holroyd chipping the ball into the box, Reed jumping 15 yards out, and a flick header which went right to the right post. Maybe he ought to have left it for Rutherford, but there is the story of the match as well, because Rutherford put in an absolutely titanic individual performance. His movement cutting in from the right flank during the first half was something to see. He was popping up all over the place. The runs he was making were terrific. Solihull had a direct, strong side. They pushed their defensive line up quite high to try and compress space in the middle of the pitch. It worked well for them at Maidstone last Saturday, but you had the feeling that maybe their defenders, just lacking pace, were a little bit too high their line than what they were comfortable with, and Wrexham were exploiting that. The running in behind them of Rutherford, Holroyd and Reed was excellent, and Wrexham really started to cause them problems. Within a minute of that chance, Kelly picked out a lovely pass to Rutherford one-on-one with the keeper in the box. Flag went up for offside. It was a controversial one. It was tight, but it was just showing how Wrexham were asking questions and probing. But Solihull, there certainly were no mugs. They were coming forwards and they were asking questions, and after 10 minutes they had a decent chance. A good tackle by Carrington on the left corner of the box fell across the edge of the area, bypassing both central defenders, and came to the left side of the midfielder Carline, who was on his own on the edge of the area, and struck a shot straight at Don. He had time to set himself and should have done a lot better than that. Wrexham riding their luck on that occasion, but the rest of the first half really was all Wrexham as they turned the screw. Firstly, a lovely move ending of Kelly sprinting onto the ball, ripping it across with terrific shape. Rutherford was attacking it, and Bowen had to do it ever so well to stretch and head the ball behind for the corner. Rutherford then swinging in a corner from the left-hand side, a keel right climbing far post 6 yards out and planting a header, which I think either has a man on the line or the post. I think it was the post, and bounced away to safety. Before Wrexham again were creating opportunities, a real spell of pressure. Kelly winning it on the left-hand side and feeding the ball inside to Reed. Down the left channel, Reed running at his man Daly, beg your pardon, and driving in a shot from a tight angle. Daly did really well to keep up with him, get a foot in and block it behind for the corner. But again, Wrexham running in behind the big centre-backs and asking questions. And it was Carrington playing, of course, on the left-hand side, using the fact that he was out of position, cutting in from 20 yards out onto his favoured right foot and driving in a powerful shot, which was well saved by Townsend. However, the breakthrough was near. From the corner, the ball chipped in, partially cleared. It came back in again. Holroyd's jumping and challenging with the keeper. There's suspicion perhaps of a foul by a defender on Holroyd, pushing him as he challenged for that aerial ball. But anyway, the keeper punched it away, only as far as Rutherford lurking on the edge of the area, and rather cleverly he cushion volleyed it back over the stranded goalkeeper and into the empty net. Rutherford's 400th career appearance, his first ever goal at the racecourse, and a frenzied celebration full of energy as you might expect from him. So Wrexham leading 1-0 at half-time, and for the first 15 minutes or so of the second half, they really showed great tempo, were right on the front foot and causing Solihull problems. Wedgbury and Wright were snapping away and challenging and winning things high up the pitch. Kelly's movement inside was starting to rival that of Rutherford. He was creating. Roberts was getting on the overlap as well. It was impressive from Wrexham. There was a terrific, frenzied spell of activity in the 51st minute, or started in the 51st minute, where Wrexham could have scored twice, and then on the breakaway, Solihull could have struck as well. Pearson hitting a terrific diagonal across to the right-hand side. Rutherford sprinting onto it with a volleyed, side-footed first-time cross into the 6-yard box. Reed attacking it, looked like he had a tap-in. A tremendous lunging challenge by Kelleher denied him as he managed to get the ball clear. Wrexham picked her up in midfield. Wedgbury put it over the top, and suddenly Holroyd was one-on-one with the keeper through the middle. The goalkeeper, Townsend, looked like he wasn't going to make it, but he sprints out of the box and just got there ahead of Holroyd and was able to clear it. And suddenly Solihull were breaking down the left-hand side. Asante cutting inside, feeding Murrumbedzi, who ran between the defenders and found himself on the penalty spot with a clear sight of goal, but the ball just ahead of him. He stretched, couldn't make proper contact, and he sliced it closer to the corner flag than to the posts. However, that did seem to signal a bit of a change. Solihull started to put more pressure on. They made bold substitutions and just started to force Wrexham back. Wrexham's midfield started to drop deeper and deeper, and suddenly Wrexham found themselves having to rely on familiar qualities in defence, which have seen them so well throughout this season. They had a little bit of luck sometimes surviving opportunities. There was a great burst by Kelleher, the big centre-back, on the charge, played a little 1-2 and 20 yards, struck the ball beautifully, but Dunn, to his left, was able to hold on to it. And then two really big chances falling their way within the space of 3 minutes. Firstly, a break down the right-hand side. Carline cut inside, got to the edge of the area, shooting chance. He drove in his shot. It took a deflection, which took it horribly across the face of goal. Two Solihull players lunged at it, looking to tap it in the far post. The ball went just wide of that post and behind. The referee given a goal kick. It looked to me like Carline's shot came off a defender, so I can only assume that one of those two on-rushing players in front of an open goal on the stretch got a touch, but not quite enough of a touch to direct it on target. An incredible let-off, and another incredible let-off for Wrexham a couple of minutes later. A free kick driven in. It took an eternity bobbling around on the edge of the area. Wrexham just not able to clean it clearly. In the end, Carter helped the ball back into the goal mouth. It looked a bit of a nothing ball, in all honesty. It looked like a fairly straightforward one for Dunn to come out and deal with. But he stayed back on his line. A potentially costly error, because Kwame Thomas, who scored on his debut on loan from Coventry last Saturday for Solihull Moors, ran onto it and, well, should have scored, quite frankly. But the keeper back on his line, as long as he didn't hit the keeper, it was a goal. But he hit the keeper. Lucky escape for Wrexham. And then, to be fair to Wrexham, because the last 25 minutes was nerve-wracking, the fact of the matter is, looking back at my notes, that's it in terms of opportunities the Solihull Moors created. They didn't really have another chance to test Dunn or really have a proper sight on goal. In fact, the only incident which was worthy of mention in the last 20 minutes should, or quite possibly could at least, have been another Wrexham goal. Wedgbury playing the ball over the top. Masanka had come on and, just like on Saturday, put in a really lively cameo off the bench, chased after it. The goalkeeper Townsend attacked it outside the box and with a really good header. They both arrived at almost the same time. It looked for a horrible moment that there could have been a clash of heads, but the keeper managed to win it. He headed it only as far as Kelly. For a second you wondered if he would do what Rutherford had done and try a cushioned volley over the stranded keeper, but instead he showed good composure, brought it down, carried it into the box and drove a shot which is on target, but a terrific block by Kelleher denied him. And Wrexham dug in. They held out. They made a time-wasting substitution, throwing Hurst on for Kelly just to eat up a few more moments, and Wrexham saw it out. It was a performance, like I said, it showed both sides of Wrexham, including maybe some of their drawbacks. To dominate 65 minutes like that and not score more than one goal shows there's still work to be done, quite frankly. But the fact that they managed to dig in and fight when Solihull the kitchen sink at them, by the end their centre-back John Daly, who is massive, was up front, was admirable from Wrexham. I mean, the fact of the matter is that on Saturday Solihull Moors won a terrific amount of headers in the penalty area from set pieces when they went forwards against Maidstone. Wrexham defended those situations well. They managed to avoid a lot of unnecessary free kicks and throw-ins, quite frankly, in corners. So they did well in that respect. They stayed on their feet well. And when balls were hurled in there, the first headers were dealt with well. Smith and Pearson were very good on this occasion. Smith, I think, particularly stood out in the way he dealt with the aerial challenge. So it was a very pleasing result. In the most part, a very pleasing performance, and certainly an extremely pleasing outcome, because Wrexham go top of the league. And now you can have a listen on the podcast to what we thought, Matt Crosby and I, of the game after the final whistle on Calon FM. So the final score, Wrexham 1, Solihull Moors 0. And we're still waiting for confirmation of the final scores around the rest of the National League. But as things stand, Wrexham are top of the league. I'm a little edgy. I'm looking at the BBC's website, and all their scores seem to be about 5 minutes out of date. So I'm not totally sure yet. But if Wrexham do go top, it will be the first time since the 16th of March 2013. We'd gone top the midweek before then. Remember that game when Wrexham won 2-1 at Lincoln when Daly Adebola scored from the halfway line? And then the next match we drew 0-0 at home to Luton and lost that top spot. But well, I'll tell you what, this Wrexham side, we've seen both sides of it today, really, I think, haven't we, Matt? Because firstly, well, they showed terrific ability to scrap for a result. To perform and dominate, probably better than they have done all season for the first 65 minutes. But then last 25, they really had to work with that 12th clean sheet of the season.
Oh, wow, yes. Yeah, the last half an hour was just almost painful to watch because Solihull got into the game, but Wrexham just didn't really have any reply to it. They didn't have anything going forward. And a real polar opposite to the first 60 minutes where Wrexham were in control. They were classy, some lovely moves, some lovely runs. And I don't know what it was, just the pressure maybe got to them as the game got nearer to the end. They felt like we need to hold out, but yeah, there's definitely improvements made on that last half hour, which to be fair overshadows what was an unbelievable first 60 minutes. So I think the fans coming out of here have got the win, but they might feel a bit disappointed. But I think when you look back on the whole, it was an impressive performance. Last half an hour let them down, but a win's a win, and that's what the teams at the top do.
Absolutely right. I mean, it was peculiar, wasn't it? And I did feel uncomfortable. That first 65 minutes, I was thinking, goodness me, it's such a one-sided game. But I guess that does sum up what we've said, that there is that lack of cutting edge to be on top of a match like that. And the performance was outstanding. Yeah. And not be able to polish it off and to dig in like that at the end. It does say something about our need to just sharpen up in the box, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was the same story at Chester as well, where they kind of got the goal and it was sloppy, and the last half hour it was all Chester and stuff. So yeah, I don't know what it is, because they still look confident at the back, they still look solid. You expect Pearson and Smith to win everything. It just seems to bypass the midfield and sides create chances when they shouldn't. I think it is down to that cutting edge, because Wrexham were dominant. Really, it was a good performance with Solihull, but it should have really been a 2-0, 3-0 scoreline, maybe 3-1, something like that. So, yeah, 1-0 maybe doesn't tell the whole story in that game.
I will say, though, I've said at half-time, I quite like looking at my notes. It just illustrates how the game has flowed. Yep. And just looking at my notes at the end then, although like I said, the last 25 minutes were edgy, the last thing I noted down in terms of a chance for Solihull was 69th minutes, which they had those two chances in 2 minutes. Yep. So, although we were put under a lot of pressure, we did actually defend well. I think we'd restricted them and to very few sights of goal.
Well, yeah, I think it kind of started to go downhill for Wrexham after we had that little mad couple of minutes where it was end to end, where there's chance for Wrexham, chance for Solihull, chance for Wrexham again. And then Wrexham kind of when they had that double chance where they really should have scored one of them, that was a real key chance, and they couldn't take it, but Wrexham will take that, because that's a win.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the results now to see whether
coming in.
They have gone our way, and at the moment none of the ones I want to see are still full times. They're still going our way. I want to see that before we go off air. We've got only less than 2 minutes to go, so I'll keep an eye on that.
We'd like to confirm we're top before the time we go off air, but I don't think it's happening.
Absolutely right. I normally turn around at this point and say who's man of the match. Do we both know who's man of the match here?
You probably heard on commentary, probably mentioned his name more than anyone on the pitch. So yeah, Paul Rutherford. I think just an unbelievable performance. He was everywhere. He obviously scored the goal. That usually gets you a man of the match, but he did really deserve the man of the match result because he was fantastic.
He was terrific, and the amount of ground he covered was superb, wasn't it? He really worked hard. Macclesfield got a late equaliser and drawn 2-2. Wrexham was still ahead of them, though, albeit only on goal difference. We're still waiting for the Sutton score and the Dagenham score to come in. But yeah, Rutherford, he was just everywhere. He was creative. He scored the goal. He defended as well. But there were other excellent performances. The two centre mids showed terrific tenacity in the way they battled, didn't they?
Yep, I thought Carrington was excellent as well. He made sure, obviously, Pearson and Smith, but Carrington kind of went under the radar and everything. And Holroyd I thought was exceptional. Not to mention Reed as well. He was also brilliant. But Holroyd, I thought his movement was fantastic, and he just didn't come away with a goal. But Rutherford did, and he was the star today.
Absolutely. And then at the back, the centre back solid as ever as well. Roberts, I thought, was sound and got forward as well, especially in that opening half hour, and Wrexham looked to compose. And then Kelly creative down the left hand side. So we still haven't quite had the confirmation of the good news, but the fact of the matter is, who cares? You can deal with your own issues, your own results. Wrexham have won here today, maintain that pressure. So with the final score of Wrexham 1, Solihull Moors 0.
This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.